Brothers of the Stronghold. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Just in my gym this morning, starting to get active. I don't know why this came to my mind this morning before I start my workout, but I just wanted to share it with you. Oftentimes the chaos of life can cause us to be depressed or inactive or lazy, and that's one of the worst things that you can do in life. So I took my family on a whitewater rafting trip. I rented a house in the woods. This is when we lived in Washington State. And so we went out one day. My son Osama was in a kayak, and the rest of my kids, well, Khattab, he was in his own kayak as well. And the rest of my kids and family were in a raft with me. This story is really not easy for me to tell because I can remember it like it was yesterday. Everything that I saw, everything that I heard. So I encourage the person that is watching this video to watch it the whole way through. So yeah, we were just floating down the river, and it started to pick up speed and rapids. I looked at my son Khattab, he's on the left. I look at my son Osama, he's about 50 to 75 yards behind me on the right. So I'm in the back of the raft just steering everybody, and everybody's paddling. Then I hear my son Osama behind us screaming. I look behind and I see that he has overturned his kayak, and he is just, it was weird because he was just like staying in one place. The river was rolling, and going really fast, but he was staying in one place. I could just barely see his face. What would happen is he hit a rapid and he overturned his kayak, and he had his foot stuck between a rock and like a log or a tree or a branch or something underneath the water. And so his face was just he could barely breathe. So all of my kids looked back and they started screaming, Osama, Osama, and everybody started freaking out. I'm literally floating down the river, watching my son drown to death. It is the most helpless feeling that I've ever felt in my life. Being a father of my son, at the time, for 19 years of his life, and watching that slip away as I float down the river. The current was so strong, even if all of us paddled the other way, we couldn't have saved him. So everybody is yelling at him. I hear him screaming. I hear all of my sons and my daughters yelling, help this and help that. But we couldn't do anything. So I said to everybody just shut up. This is a time where my son was drowning to death. And it wasn't a time of emotion. It was a time where I had to do something. I had to think clearly and get him out of the situation. So as I see my son's head bobbing up and down, drowning, I said to him, Osama, calm down, listen to me. Let go of your kayak, let go of your paddle. I need you to hold your breath and go under the water and free your foot. My son, subhanAllah, he's a warrior, so he did just that. By this time, all of us are rolling down the river still, at least 100 yards away from him. I can see his head bobbing up and down and going down to free his foot. And in that moment, I said, Ya Allah, save him. He let go of the kayak and I see it float down the river. So it took him about 4 or 5 times to free his foot. And I finally see him pop up his whole body. And I just said, Alhamdulillah. So I told everybody on the boat, paddle backwards. There's a faster chance of him floating towards us if we paddle backwards. We can at least stay stationary. I'll never forget the cold hand of my son, Osama, as I pulled him out onto the raft. His lips were blue. He was shaking. I pulled my son aboard and I just gave him the biggest hug. Later that evening at the cabin, he came to me and he said, thanks, Dad. Thanks for being the type of man that does difficult things in difficult, chaotic situations. And herein lies the lesson of this whole story that happened. Life gets chaotic often. There will always be time later to process the madness and the chaos of what just happened to you. But as men, we have to stay calm and do what we got to do to get to where we want to be. In a life-threatening situation like that, emotion won't do anything for you. You need to think clearly. You need to act and stop yelling and screaming. That, and with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is what helped my son live again. And this is the same thing that will help you live again and improve your life. There will always be chaos. Put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do your action behind it. The choice is yours. You can stay under the water and drown, or you can pull your foot free and live.